In 1982, Japan announced it would build the computer of the future. The West panicked. The Pentagon poured $1 billion into catching up. 10 years and 54 billion yen later, Japan's machines sat behind museum glass, and America owned the future of software. But here's what nobody noticed. That same decade, the same country, using the same engineers, quietly conquered one corner of software so completely, it still owns it today. The talent was identical, the discipline was identical, only the result came out the other way. Japan is the closest thing we have to a controlled experiment in what actually decides who wins software, and the experiment is about to run again. The project was called Fifth Generation. In 1983, an American computer scientist published a book warning that Japan's logic machines could leapfrog the entire Western industry, and Washington believed it. Around 100 of Japan's most brilliant engineers gathered at a Tokyo institute, building machines that reasoned through logic rather than crunching numbers, one of them wiring together 512 processors at a time when this was close to science fiction. They hit their technical targets, they built the machines they promised. And then commodity chips, the C language, and the open internet swept the whole thing into a display case, where it still sits today. Everyone read this as Japan trying and failing. Hold that thought, because the failure had nothing to do with how good the engineers were. To see why, you have to walk into a Japanese software factory in the 1980s. Western managers who toured them left shaken, assembly line flaws, calendared code reviews, defect counts logged by hand. Independent surveys ranked Japanese software projects above American ones on quality and output. This was the most disciplined software workforce on the planet, and that discipline was the problem. A culture that treats a 1 in 10,000 defect rate as a disgrace is a culture obsessed with fitting a specification exactly. But product software rewards the opposite instinct. It rewards ignoring what any single customer wants, and building the fungible average you can sell 1 million times over. Japan optimized for fit. Software pays for forgetting. They weren't worse engineers taking the test badly. They were excellent engineers acing a completely different exam. As late as 1986, roughly 94% of the software sold in Japan was custom built, one system at a time. Which raises the real question: why would the most disciplined engineers in the world spend decades building one system at a time instead of products they could sell over and over? The answer is where they sat. In the Japanese model, a company that needed software called its assigned vendor, which built a custom system on top of a pyramid of cheaper and cheaper subcontractors, billed by the head. Picture a brilliant architect 3 layers down that pyramid, writing code for one bank. He is good enough to design software for 1,000 banks. He never will, not because he can't, but because nobody in that building is asking him to, and no promotion he could earn rewards the answer. Around 3/4 of Japan's software engineers worked inside firms like that. In the United States, it was closer to 1/3. Japan took the finest software talent on earth and seated it in the exact rooms where the winning idea could not be thought. The talent was never missing, it was in the wrong chair. And this is where the experiment resolves, because Japan did win at software, decisively. In the one category it treated as a product instead of a contract. Video games. The country that couldn't sell enterprise software gave the world Nintendo and PlayStation and dominated the global games industry for a generation. Same nation, same era, same engineers. The only variable that changed was the business model, and the outcome flipped with it. Sony's own chairman admitted the deeper reason in 2006. At Japanese firms, hardware engineers began a product, and software people were brought in afterward, because the older men sat at the top and seniority ruled. That isn't a Japanese quirk, that's the physics of every old hierarchy. Software is invisible, young, and threatening to the people who built their careers on things you can hold. Japan simply ran the most honest version of a hierarchy every industrial nation shared. It didn't reveal something about Japan. It revealed what happens anywhere the people who understand the future report to the people who built the past. Then the bill came due. 40 years after the panic, every prediction inverted. The country that builds the finest hardware now runs on foreign software. Windows, Amazon's cloud, Salesforce. In 2024, Japan's digital trade deficit hit a record 6.5 trillion yen, more than triple what it was a decade earlier, a river of money flowing out every year for software it never learned to build. And underneath that sits a deeper debt. Roughly 80% of Japanese firms still run on legacy systems, many built by hand in the 1980s and the 1990s, now undocumented black boxes maintained by engineers approaching retirement. Japan's own government has a name for the reckoning: the 2025 digital cliff. Its estimate for the annual damage if those systems aren't modernized, up to 12 trillion yen every single year. And here is the twist nobody has connected. The giants that whole broken system created, the huge Japanese IT firms, had exactly one thing protecting them. Migrating those ancient bespoke systems was slow, expensive, and required armies of humans reading undocumented code. That was the moat. As of 2026, AI is draining it. AI-assisted modernization is cutting the reading and translation phase, the part that once ate most of a project's budget, by half or more. The exact technology that could finally free Japanese companies from their custom-built prisons is the same technology that guts the industry built to keep them there. So Japan's 40-year mistake and its 2026 reckoning turn out to be one structural fact, seen at two moments in time. Whether this ends in liberation or collapse depends on the same thing it always did: whether Japan this time seats its talent in the right chairs. The experiment is running again, and we don't yet know the result.